Daily Mail reports suicides hit record high last year when nearly 50,000 Americans took their own lives. CDC report revealed that suicides in the U.S. are at an all-time high. I think a large component of this is what we see in cities. Obviously, COVID, I think, destroyed a lot of people, the lockdowns and all that stuff. But you come out to the middle of nowhere, and what do you have? Fresh running water. Granted, you don't want to drink wild stuff. Right? You got to clean it and all that stuff. But we have a well. We have a well water with a filtration system. So there's no gunk. There's no weird chemicals. There's no chlorine. I'm pretty sure we have no chlorine. It's like a multi-stage filter with a UV light to clean it and kill the bacteria. No fluoride added. Just regular old well water. And we have the rivers right down the road. Fresh fruit growing all across the property. It's ridiculous. Every month there's some new kind of fruit to eat. And we didn't even put it there. And you can even eat the leaves. Nobody wants to, but you can. A lot of the grape leaves. We got so much grape.
Oh, we could wrap stuff with grape leaves.
Yeah, you could wrap them and soak them. Yeah, Chuck was talking about doing that. So we're out here, and it's like a Disney fairy tale. Little animals running about with deer on the front yard.
The picturesque mountains in the forefront with the clean air.
Yep. You walk out, you look outside, you see clean air, you see mist rising. There's wild turkeys in the front. You could, back in the day, I mentioned this, they have the guns in the kitchen, the muskets. And I asked the guy, like, what's the musket for? And they're like, oh, when they're cooking dinner, they open the back door, shoot a rodent, throw the rodent in the stew. And I'm like, wow, that's how they lived. It's like, you didn't even need to go hunt. You just like open the door and you wait and you're like, there we go, rabbit, bang. Mm-hmm. So we have wild turkeys in front of the house all the time. We don't do this, but we could literally just capture, kill one anyone. We have deer all over the place. There's too many deer, actually. I hope, like, the deer need to be killed. Right? I don't want to be a dick, but there's like 25 of them. And there's poop everywhere, and they're just eating too much. So people go out and they kill them, but you could just eat the deer. It's just like the food is right there. In the cities, they use all this crazy chemicals. People's heads are whacked. They're on SSRIs. They live in these concrete blocks that smell like sour milk.
Yeah, that brake dust coming out of the cars.
I was going to say, all the car emissions that they walk through to get from tiny apartment building to the tiny
24/7, because it goes into your apartments, too.
It's like everywhere. Living in a sewer.
Is it like that in London, too? You're from outside of London?
Yeah, but I don't really spend much time there. But it is. I mean, the pollution is really, really bad. But, on the flip side, they're trying to push the climate change thing. So they're putting plant pots in the middle of roads to stop drivers going into central London. They're charging people every single day about $15 just to drive into central London. So that's even delivery drivers, truck drivers. So there's good and bad things about that. I think it is a tough life there when people are going from the office, 9 to 5, they go straight to the house and they've got a tiny apartment. And for a one-bedroom apartment in London, it's like $1,200, $1,300. So it's, crammed conditions, a bit like New York. So it's not a way for people to live. Like Tim was saying, it's much better. People are happier and healthier if they're living in the countryside. I spend so much time outdoors and it's so much nicer. It's fulfilling. You feel that fresh air and you feel good, and you appreciate things. Like if you grow your own vegetables, you appreciate that taste. You don't think, oh, I can just buy what I want. It's consumption. It's you actually enjoy life a bit more.
Yeah. Here's a crazy thing. They have a racial breakdown and an age breakdown. It is mostly millennial white people who are committing suicide.
Oh my gosh.
Multiracial people are very low. I love this. But what you need to understand is that white people are the majority of the population. Okay. So percentage is what matters the most. And I think, this percentage change. You need to break down the amount of suicides by race, but by percentage of population. So it looks like white people are committing tremendous amounts of suicide, but it's actually fairly comparable. If you look at Black or African, they're about 10% of the white population, and that's actually, so it seems statistically average suicide across all racial backgrounds. But then you do notice that from 25 to 64, substantially more suicides, with the highest demographic being 25 to 44, which is millennial into younger Gen X. It's freaky stuff, man. Mm-hmm. Whatever's causing this, people are having a breakdown. I think purpose matters. I think we can look at a lot of the issues that are causing something like this, and they're just directly correlated with cities. No community, no neighbors, no purpose, living in pollution and garbage, and running back and forth. It feels, I don't know, man. It just feels like the dark side.
And they can never get up the ladder. You know, they're stuck in those jobs for their whole life. They're just surviving, basically, you know, paying their bills. And it's really tough. And what's sad as well, most of these people likely have mental health struggles. And then you've got Canada that's legalizing euthanasia, including for people with mental health. So how many more people are going to feel so hopeless that they're going to take their lives? You know, instead of, you know, sending all this money to different countries, you know, another 24 billion to Ukraine, you know, America should be investing in mental health, and let's help these people. We shouldn't be, you know, pushing people to, you know, feel that they've got no chance in life. Let's actually help them and support them with mental health.
I think it was someone was just saying we should reintroduce the reopen mental facilities. Was it Vivek? Was it Vivek? Do you guys remember? Were you
might have
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
Yeah. Reagan shut them down in the early 80s, and that was a big...
Put them in jails instead.
Yeah, and now we have this mental health crisis that just began like right when that big shutdown happened. So maybe it's time to... But like they were so horrible. So many people suffered so horribly in a lot of those places that was the justification for shutting them down. But that doesn't mean that we can't do it right or do something.
It also opens the door to... You are a political dissident, so the government says, mentally ill.
Yeah, or you have a medical marijuana card? Well, it's not federally legal, so off to the mental facility with you.
And you can't get out.
With armed guards, yeah.
With regular jails, you'll get a term, and then you get out. Maybe you'll get out with good behavior, you get out early, but with mental facilities, they determine whether you get out or don't.
I think a lot of these people are maybe not a lot, but returning veterans from the war in the Middle East, wars in the Middle East, when you come back and you realize, like, wait, there were no weapons of mass destruction. Wait, Osama bin Laden, we didn't go into Afghanistan for Osama bin Laden. I thought I just spent 6 to 8 years of my life willing to kill and seeing people get like.
And people hate me and look down on me and think that I'm bad for having been in the military. I mean, like, veteran suicide is serious and is a part of it. I think part of it is also social media. I mean, it's something that we see particularly among young people, anywhere from, 15 to 35. You're seeing an increase in anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. So there might be a lot of circumstances, but I think ultimately we have raised young people in a culture of hopelessness. And you must be reminded that every day if you're working a job that you don't like in a city where you feel like no one knows you, and you go home and you lie in bed and look on your phone for hours and hours and hours, and you feel like you're not getting the same amount of likes as someone else, and why aren't you doing more with your life? And that despair is terrible, where I think we need to have a culture that measures success not by online presence, but in the connections you have in real life.
I think if you look at this data, there's a really easy way to... a really easy bit of data to show what's causing this. You can see that males are 3 times more likely, or 3 or 4 times more likely to commit suicide than females. So I think a large component of this is telling men they're evil, they are bad, they are wrong. I love, there was this article that talked about the glass cliff. It was like Linda Yaccarino is appointed to the board of X right when the company's about to implode. This is the glass cliff. And I'm like, man, you got a glass floor, you got a glass ceiling, you got glass walls, you got a glass cliff. Ladies be living in a big glass room. Is that it?
Don't throw stones.
That's right. That's what I was going to say. People who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones. And so these people, they be doing nothing but throwing stones. And so I'm like, no matter what happens to a woman in the workplace, it is the fault of patriarchy and men. And I'm just like, dude, come on. You can't be like, Elon Musk hired who he thought was the best person for the job. We were very critical of Yaccarino, I think that's her name, right? Because she was a World Economic Forum individual. She's not being tossed off the glass cliff. She was given a prestigious position. You give a woman an executive position, well, it's the glass cliff to throw her off the cliff.
Yeah.
You don't give it to her, it's the glass ceiling. You give her a mid-tier job, and they say, well, that's the glass floor. Women are thrown out there because they're eye candy. Oh, just spare me, dude.
Well, and with Yaccarino, like them being like, they hired her right as the company was about to go downhill. Like, are you guys saying she's not capable of turning it around?
Yes.
Like, are you saying that you think she's not qualified for the job she was given? Like, are you sort of showing us what's actually happening here? I think there is such a weird conversation where women have to be protected at all costs because they can never think that maybe a man would have been better for their position, when ultimately we know that genders function differently. I mean, it goes right down. You can study newborn babies and see a difference in the way their brains naturally developed. You can't tell me a newborn baby has been socialized at all. We know there are extreme differences, and instead of having a society that prepares people to pursue things that fall along those lines, we're saying constantly like something's oppressing you, something's bad. Actually, you're the problem. Actually, you need to stop the way you are and conform to what we want from you. It's just toxic.
I think divorce is another one. I was just watching Soft White Underbelly on YouTube. Highly recommend the one with the divorce attorney that is just recently came out a few days ago. And he was saying that like in divorce proceedings, the guy tends to get the raw end of the stick. It's like if the guy cheats on the girl, the guy's trash. He's a piece of shit, junk. If the girl cheats on the guy probably wasn't doing enough to support her, so she had to go.
They're more likely to lose custody of their children. I mean, it's brutal.
So to be 18 or 16, I mean, was this around you? This like men are bad? Is that part of why you feel like I don't want to be or I don't feel right as a guy? Like,
so it wasn't like it is now when the patriarchy is constantly mocked, and you saw the Barbie movie that was kind of mocking men. So you saw the Barbie movie mocking men, but it wasn't around then. But I had a kind of difficult relationship with my dad. He was very masculine. He was trying to get me to do all these outdoor things, and I didn't get on with him. So I was trying to reject that. So that was part of the reason why I became more feminine and more like a girl and stuff. But I think nowadays we're really seeing this division is a breakdown of masculinity, because it's very hard to find just normal masculine guys now, right? Because we're having this society that's emasculating men. And again, the Barbie movie, I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was cool. I love all the colors and the outfits and stuff, but I think it was mocking men and trying to make men look bad and tell women, you don't need a man, you don't need to settle down. And they even mock the pregnant Barbie and that. So I think it's kind of teaching kids, or teaching young girls, you don't need a man in life. And, it's essential for starting a family, right? And growing. So,
and I think guys are seeing that and thinking like, I'm not needed. If they're telling girls they don't need men and I'm a man, that means I'm not going to be needed. Why am I even here?
I have no purpose. Yeah.
And that's why we don't see strong, solid relationships anymore, or marriages, a lot of marriages failing, or, people just hooking up on apps like Tinder or Bumble because they don't see the purpose of it. Everything is so fast in modern society. You just go on an app, you find someone new. So they don't build that connection, which I think is really sad.
That was another thing we were talking about like 50 years ago. Your dating pool was like who you knew and who you were around. Now, even when you're like married or you're in a fully committed family relationship, if you go to check your notifications, you see women's faces, like the faces of hundreds of different women. It's just such an erotic mess. It's not natural stimulation. At least it wasn't up to this. Now, maybe we have to start considering it. I mean, it's artificial, but it may be becoming part of our nature, but it is counterintuitive to the marriage monogamy structure. That's something else this divorce attorney was talking about too. Jeez, it's a weird, but I mean, if we don't have kids, then the human race will not proceed.
And this is why young men are skewing conservative. It's why young men are fans of Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, because you've got, finally, they're being talked to. They're being explained their value. They're being explained their responsibilities, their opportunities. And the left, this is really, really funny. I think it was Vosh who tweeted something like, the reason young men are becoming conservative is because the right is talking to them. We need to do this. And the response from all these leftists was, oh, boo-hoo, poor men, shut up, spare me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sitting here laughing, being like, just keep on ragging, just keep on hating. And more guys are going to be like, screw you, I'm leaving.
At first, I was hurt by a girl. I blamed her. It was my fault, a lot of it, in my 20s. So I was like happy to watch this division proceed in like 2011, 12, 13. I'm like, good. She deserves it. All women deserve it. I was so angry. But it's like a snowball, an avalanche rolling down a hill. Once it gets started, it's gone out of control now. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure we can grains of sand and kind of slow the thing down because it's not a literal avalanche. But it feels like this momentum of divisiveness between men and women has been picking up steam. And that's concerning. Of course, it's, shit can get changed really fast.
Well, I would think
internet.
movies like Barbie are sort of accelerating this, right? They're saying men are to blame. And that's
I don't know. I thought Barbie was making fun of women.
I've never seen it, so
Yeah, I
I
haven't seen
can't
it either.
comment accurately.
I thought it was more mocking men. It was basically teaching women, don't settle down with a man, you don't want to get married. And there was 2 scenes where there was a pregnant Barbie, and Will Ferrell was the CEO of Mattel, and basically they were mocking the pregnant Barbie like she was a discarded model. So it was teaching, young girls, don't have babies. And there was a scene at the start, you might have seen it in the trailer, where these kids were on the beach and they had these baby dolls. They were looking after them. Barbie came along, suddenly they smashed them. So I thought that was almost a subliminal message telling kids, don't have babies, or, because it's not what we want in society anymore. So
I mean, I didn't see it, but my view from the trailers and the commentary that I have seen is that if the default presentation of the Barbies is this happy-go-lucky world, and then she goes out into the real world and it's not nearly as bad. Like, I think it shows them as like airhead, vapid, stupid, lazy, entitled. Like, But I didn't see the movie, so I don't know.
I got a hot take. I don't think Margot Robbie's that good of an actor. I've never
I
heard
thought
any
she was
of-
good.
You thought she was good?
Yeah, she's good. Yeah.
When I look at her face, I just don't see. And Margot, come on the show. I still love you, but like she's just popular because she's hot. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she was great in the movie. I didn't see
in
the
a
movie.
lot of stuff.
I know
right?
she was in.
She's a really good actress.
with
Yeah.
Jared Leto and what's that movie?
Harley Quinn, right?
Yeah, Harley Quinn.
She was in
that movie was
Wolf of Wall Street
awful.
too, right?
I don't.
Dude, the worst, one of the worst movies I've ever seen
Really?
was Birds of Prey.
Harley, was she in that
yes,
too?
and it was just so
I saw a
bad.
couple scenes with her and Ryan, or not Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling.
I'm actually upset you guys made me remember that movie.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I mean, I hate
Yeah,
objectifying
Margot
other
Robbie.
actors because good for her doing what she's doing, but I think it's kind of an example of like where our society's at with auto-tune and like the hot girl gets the lead because she's hot and not because the best actors.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.